Yes.
Ready to go?
Ready, Robert, with an AC power source?
Yes, we have it.
Okay, the meeting will come to order at 4:32 p.m. All right, do we need to do a roll call for attendance purposes, or are we good to just go right into? You got us? Okay. Take a minute to review the agenda, and then I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
Did you want to move?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'll make a
Item
motion
7-4. Did you want to move item 7-4?
Oh, yes, I would like to make a revision to move item 7-4 to 7-6. Okay.
Is it the motion?
Yes, I move that we
Okay.
move item 7-4 to 7-6.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. You were emailed minutes for the September 5th, 2019 meeting. That's in your packet as well. Let me know if there are any corrections. If there aren't any, then please make a motion to approve.
We'll need to,
To,
move John
Yeah.
Phillips.
Wanna make a motion? Yeah, John's on there, you want So I'm gonna make a motion, to accept the minutes amended with John Phillips taken out as a board member.
Okay, can I get a second?
How did I call the meeting to order?
Because Dr. O wasn't here.
Yeah.
Can I get a second?
So we're going to have to take her off the present then.
Okay, so can you amend the,
Yeah. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, minutes approved. So Rick, have we moved public comments up on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, so at this time, the Personnel Policy and Public Relations Committee will take public comments, 3 minutes per speaker.
Yeah, I have a public comment. I'm very curious looking over the new photography policy. I don't see any possible way that that policy is going to work, besides the fact that it's unconstitutional. It's completely against First Amendment. The disclosure of materials being checked out or being browsed is not the responsibility of the public. The way that that is written is so that the library cannot release those records to people. It has nothing to do with the citizens that are using the library. Okay? In addition to that, how in the world would you enforce it? The Supreme Court of the United States ruled that the police have to have a search warrant to look at your phone. So what's a library person going to do? Even if a library person sees a moving image on your phone, what if you're watching YouTube? What if you have your camera reversed? There's no possible way of knowing that. All it's going to do is create confrontations with people. And if you don't enforce it uniformly, then you're opening yourself up to huge liabilities as far as discrimination, personal targeting. And since this whole policy was enacted because of one event, I think it's pretty clear that that was the intent of this policy from the start. Even looking at the children's policy, where most people would not have a reasonable issue, because most people, I don't think, want just random people filming children. Even that, how do you enforce it? If somebody says, yeah, this is my kid, how do you prove it? Are you going to do blood tests on the spot? Or are you going to take people's word? Because if you're just going to take their word, then you have to take the word of the people downstairs when they say, I wasn't filming. How are you going to enforce it? It's not on there. Are you going to say, oh, I've seen you holding your camera a certain way now 2 times, so you have to leave the library? There's nothing in there that says, here's how we're going to enforce it. It's completely arbitrary, which reveals Rick's true intent in this policy. I also think anything the lawyer has to say about these policies, since this is now the 3rd revision made that the public is paying for, even on the Edgar County Watchdog site, people that live here are calling for this stuff to be put in writing. We want to see what these lawyers are saying, because we don't want another Orland Park, where lawyers took advantage of a gullible library director and a board of trustees that was obstinate of outside criticism, and they racked up $500,000 in legal fees. That's $250 an hour, and this is the 3rd revision, and this 3rd revision is completely wrong. There's no way to enforce it. There's no way that will work. It's unconstitutional at every possible level. I'm also saying I don't believe any possible excuse as to why 35 minutes are missing from the video that you posted on YouTube. Those 35 minutes happened to be when several of you made very colorful, very negative comments about the homeless and mentally ill communities in Decatur. So that those particular parts were missing is extremely suspect, and again reveals an agenda that hopefully is not of this entire board, it's hopefully just of Mr. Meyer's agenda to try to cover his tracks. But if you're gonna say you want transparency, actually have transparency. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any written communication from the public that?
None that you haven't been to see on.
All right, we'll move then to old business. Do we have any old business that we need to revisit? Okay. All right, new business, for your report.
Just an FYI, simplified rather than.
Okay, so I do have a question. The third column has X's. Does that mean these have not been responded to?
No, they have been. Those are the ones that have been.
Okay, it's just the alignment is off, okay.
That one was the same thing, but I assume that was
Yeah,
just
yeah, it is.
paragraph off paragraph.
So 4 have not been responded to, is that?
As of today, yes.
Okay.
And on 9-4, was this blacked out because it's a person's name?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or comments, other questions or comments about the four-year report? Okay, personnel update.
We, last month I reported to you that we were a half-time library assistant away from fully staffed. And that half-time library assistant is actually a new position. In looking at next year's budget, decided to forego that hire for the time being. With that and some other changes that made great improvements in next year's budget. Our healthcare costs are going up 41% next year, so that took quite a bite. We had to look at some things, and so that helped us get over the top. We will be sending out tomorrow an internal call for applicants for the position, the librarian position upstairs, primarily children, since Nancy Law will be retiring after 34.
Yeah.
35, 36 years, 36, because it was 83. So she'll be missed, and we will be opening it up internally.
So she, when is she retiring?
November 6th will be her last day.
Okay.
And she has asked for, yes, she's asked for just a very small internal staff gathering for that. And we will respect her wishes in that.
Okay, equity, diversity, and inclusion. I would like to recommend that the board look at the ALA resources. I will send the link to you, Rick, if you don't have it. But the resources that they have address every diverse group you can think of. And I think that we need to certainly continue to look at issues of race and gender, but also mental health and disabilities and equity of access and so forth. They have some really good resources about how to work with a variety of people. And so I'll send that link to Rick, and I would like for us to have some discussion around that next time we meet.
I was told today that PRS staff is planning a film series that's focused on inclusion inclusivity. The first film that we'll be showing at the public, which is a film set in a public library, but it's about the homeless, essentially.
Okay. We're gonna move to photography and video policy that you have in your packets.
This is a second draft, and I met with division heads today, got some feedback, and we had a couple of concerns and some things that we wanted to discuss. The default is, you know, in a public area, this is permitted, without
This is what the
question.
first paragraph.
Council advised that circulation, while patrons are present at circulation, should be an exception. I want to run by him whether the reference / computer desk and or browsing areas would also fall under that. I think that's trickier, and I'm not sure what he'll say, but I'm going to run that by him. We talked about, while we've got in here something about the children's area, no photographing or video recording in the children's area, and that language about except by staff or family members, that was based on a comment of the council's, but I want to talk about, it got brought up in the division heads meeting today, children, and what about a child that's downstairs? You know, should it be geographic or should it be the fact that it's a child? The rest of it, I don't think anybody had any issues with. So, just want to know your thoughts on that and whether or not I should run those.
Did we decide that other libraries have video policies, or where can you find
Yeah,
them?
so there are a handful that do.
And they do, but I do think, very much like some of the comments you heard today in the public comments, that it is difficult to know who's really a family member. And
True.
I think it's easier if the family member or the person that is caring for the child, if they report something that's
Right.
different. If they say, you know, some people guys is videotaping my child, it's different. But we really can't police who's family and who isn't. And then
That's up to the parent.
there are times when I might be tutoring a child here, and I'm videotaping because I need that to use in my classroom. So, you know, I think,
Also, this is a public place, so if I go to a grocery store, if I go to a park and somebody, I can't stop someone from.
Well, the grocery store can tell you, you absolutely
Well,
can't.
your grocery,
Okay,
right,
but
let's
the
take a
park,
A park, we are a public, I mean, and again, I don't, I would ask that, again, not because of the comments that were made, it's something that I thought of, is how do you know, I mean, how does a librarian approach or an employee of the library approach somebody and say, excuse me, I need to see if you're videoing. Do they see that video, or do they just say, I think you're videoing, and if you are, you leave the library?
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of
I'm texting
ambiguity.
like this.
Yeah. Again, it would be if somebody said, you know, this guy is videoing me and I'm not real comfortable with it.
Or
Then
down.
do you approach that individual at that point in time? Or do you say it's a public place and I'm sorry, but
well, in that case, if we're talking about adult, we would probably have to take that second route. It's a public place, and we're sorry, but there's nothing that we can do about that.
so is this needed? I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate. Is it needed?
We had
Or
that
does it
same
create-
question, I asked the same question that division is today, because, you know, this was, it was recommended by Chris that, you know, he did some research and saw that other libraries have them, and it might be, behoove us to have one, but.
The policy, I have no problem having a photography and video policy. I'm just saying, this particular clause in here, I do think is somewhat problematic. I think that needs to be interrogated a little bit more.
Well, I think that Michael's question though is instructive because it gets you to think about it, you know, from a brand new light. I mean, we've operated for a long time without such a policy. We all thought we had one, because people frequently came in and asked permission. And to.
Which is nice.
Right, and it's always been granted, and then we, we found that, Chris recommended that we should take a look at this. Well, we didn't have a policy, because I looked for it, we couldn't do it. I couldn't find one anywhere.
I should probably know this, but do we have cameras inside the library?
Yeah, and we have a separate security camera policy.
So they're getting recorded anyway. I mean, people are, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we're recording
Just
people,
like at the grocery store.
recording people. You know what I mean?
You know, I worked in technology years ago for the school district, and yeah, you're being recorded almost everywhere anymore. But I just,
got a ring doorbell now.
I
Yeah,
do
right.
appreciate a policy, so I don't want to miscommunicate that I don't think we need a policy. I think we should really think about the,
Yeah, I think if you just took out the second paragraph, everything else is kind of boilerplate.
Let me run that, I think that is the area
Yeah.
that everybody's got the concern with, so let me run that by Chris again and see if he thinks it's necessary.
Well, the problem is it just becomes a litigious, and if a librarian, if it's seen that the librarian or somebody is going up to somebody and harassing them, then we have a lawsuit. We could have a lawsuit in that regard.
So, but aside from that second paragraph,
Yeah, everything
we didn't have any concerns either.
everything else is just informative. I mean,
Right.
there's really not anything, it's just that one paragraph there.
It's
that-
ambiguous.
You can't bring in a bunch of floodlights and tripods and create a traffic hazard.
Right, yeah,
Well, you
that
can't do that
makes
anyway.
sense. That's
Yeah,
why I
you
think those things make sense.
Okay.
But
I
it's-
will make that recommendation, or make that change, I can just make that change if that's what you guys recommend, we don't need to run it by Chris again.
Well, I mean,
Unless he's added, let me revisit his notes and see
No, I just-
whether he was saying that this needs to be in there, or whether he was just responding to a draft.
I think you might have responded to comments. I don't know, I guess maybe I kind of, remembering my days as a paranoid parent, but, and you're correct, absolutely correct. It's your job as the guardian of a child, whether it's a child from church or a child, a neighbor's child or whoever, it's your responsibility as the
the library is not a
Adults.
babysitter.
We don't act in loco parentis, that's
Right.
Well,
correct.
and the thing is, if you have parents, I mean, if this is some widespread, videotaping, that we've encountered over the last couple of years, and those parents have reported a particular person, then you have a paper trail that says several different families have expressed concern that this person is videotaping their kids. That's different. I don't know that we've had that, though.
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay, so that's.
So, let me revisit the notes that Chris sent and, see if that was just him responding to.
Could you do something for us? So, could you talk to, is there a couple of libraries you could just call up and say, why did you have this policy?
Yeah.
What
Well,
is,
I asked him,
well, I want to know if they have something like this in their policy,
Right,
and
right.
was it because they were having a problem with individuals in there, or?
yeah, and we based this on I think we looked at about 4 or 5 different policies. I think University of Illinois' library literally had a flow chart,
Right.
of,
It is
what.
nearby.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's a little different, but what I'm saying is, a library of our size, I know you gave us, because you showed them to us, but
Right.
if there's a library of our size or something that would be comparable, and just ask them why they had that, that doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay, are we ready to move on to reference services policy? We all agree that Rick is going to strike the second paragraph, but ensure that after discussion with council, that there wasn't a particular reason for that.
So then bring it back to committee next month, or as long as that's copacetic, present to the full
I'm
board
fine as
as.
long as that is out of the
Yeah.
policy.
Then that would require a vote from the committee to,
Accept it without the paragraph.
Okay, so I move that we accept the photography and video policy minus the second paragraph under, section 1. Any second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right.
Did you abstain?
No, I made the motion.
Okay. Okay, that passes.
Okay, reference services policy.
we had several comments today about this when we, Division heads reviewed this, and I'll just start at the top. The first part is defining reference, and the second sentence really we thought could be stricken because it's mostly for internal use. This is what we count for statistics.
Mhm.
You know, that doesn't really need to be a part of the policy. Moving down to the second paragraph under the introduction, we just felt the wording of the first sentence was a little awkward, and perhaps change it to readers advisory services answer questions that have.
Yeah, that first sentence isn't even a sentence, it's a fragment. Reader's advisory answers. Okay, I see,
Yeah.
gotcha, I see. Yeah, it is worded kind of funny, okay.
Should the, maybe the A should be capitalized.
That might, that.
There you go,
Yeah,
because that's
that's-
what's,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
that's great.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, because we did capitalize it.
Yeah.
That makes it a lot more.
Yeah.
So, moving down to access, we just thought, is it possible we need to enumerate more protected classes there, such as we didn't have religion, sexual orientation, disability. I think that should, if we throw those in there, that should cover
Yeah,
most things. And then on page 2, the stuff that I put in italics were the things that I was unsure of. And the feedback that I got was, in the first paragraph, the second italicized sentence that begins one-on-one sessions, and I put a big or, to strike one-on-one sessions, strike everything up to and including or, and have it read, staff set reasonable limits on the amount of time and level of response given to patron request for information in order to ensure equal and fair access to reference services for all patrons. Basically based on how busy things are, because it could be that more than 30 minutes is acceptable given the level of demand on that particular day.
So the sentence would read, staff set reasonable limits on the amount of time and level of response to ensure equal and fair access to reference services for all patrons.
Correct, yep. And then in the next paragraph, rewrite it to say that staff may assist patrons with basic computer operations and applications, and/or refer patrons to the changes other resources for other appropriate resources for further assistance. And the last, under limits of service, rather than the wording that's in the italics right now, change it to patrons may not expect to work exclusively with a particular staff member. They can certainly request it.
So I have one thing, it's a nitpicky thing, but there are times when we say reference services, and then other times where it says reference service. So, for example, under access, the library will provide reference services. Is reference services a phrase in and of itself?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Then,
I'm sorry, where was that?
under access, the library will provide reference services. But then I wasn't sure if it should be singular or plural. Under the services category, insofar as it is possible, reference service or services shall not only meet, but
Yeah, I think services would be probably appropriate there as well.
And then on
Okay, I see it.
and then on the back, the section evaluation of reference service
Right.
Should that one be services?
Yes, I think so, just for,
So it's consistent.
Yeah.
I totally understand why you put that last phrase in, because we got similar situations like at work where everybody's a favorite technician.
Sure.
Everybody wants to book a favorite technician, well, what about all the other people on staff?
well, and it's, you know, there's nothing wrong with the request, and there are times where, you know, there's times where somebody has a good rapport with somebody else, and it's totally fine.
Yeah.
It's just that we can't guarantee that. We can't guarantee that you can only work with,
Your
you know,
favorite.
librarian X or library assistant Y.
Okay, anything else that we need to do with the reference services policy? We need to approve that today with these corrections.
Yeah, if you could recommend it for,
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say.
Recommend
May I,
for some-
please, yeah. Are we gonna recommend this for the full board or the committee gonna approve this?
they can't prove it.
Okay,
So
so the
you
first one,
The motion is to take it to the full.
exactly, a full
Right,
board,
the
so the
first
first one should be recommended to go to the full
Right,
board.
right.
Yes.
We approve it for submittal to the full board, I guess, recommending it, but.
Does someone want to make the motion?
I'd like to make the motion to recommend the reference and reader's advisory service policy with the modifications we just made to the full board for their approval.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, let's move into closed session, since we will be talking about the items on here that relate.
So you'll need to have a motion and second on the.
Well, you have to, you have to say what it is.
Yeah, you have to cite the,
This portion will be held in closed session. Well, Robert knows how that goes.
Yes, the motion.
I need to make the motion that we go into closed session. This portion of the meeting may be held in closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120-2 C1 and/or 5 ILCIS 120-2 C2 in reference to compensation of specific employees of the public library.
And the bottom,
Okay.
that bottom section will be more, the bulk of the discussion.
Or
And the
legal
last thing
counsel
that I-
for the
no,
deliberate,
The
or,
last thing that I highlighted.
oh, okay, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. That's the motion.
Right, so you need a second and a vote.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I will, when we are. Okay, we are back in open session and the summary is here.
Thanks. We just don't want anybody to think they're shut out.
Yeah.
Should get a sign, we've got a sign somewhere about closed session.
So the summary of the closed session is that this was an informative review of the payroll analysis report, in which we looked at positions, duties, and pay, and then the numbers for the different classifications of jobs and positions. And we will continue to look at the documentation that's provided by HR Source, and that's pretty much the summary of what we discussed.
And also point out that the last section that they gave us here is
Sample.
just an example of a way to
Oh, it was great.
handle this going forward.
Yeah, if we don't have one, I thought, man, this is
Yeah, we do, but I think, you know, that one's got, there's some things about that one I like better, there's some things about ours I like better, but.
to me, this is very consistent with what I've seen in the industry.
Okay.
HR people, they all work the same, they all go to the same conferences.
We are going other new business?
You want someone to make a motion to adjourn?
Seeing none, I move that we adjourn. Can I get a second?
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 5:25 PM.